maintain flight level 220 on 13412.
Center road at 885 at 15.5 for 17,000.
My name is Darren Roberts. You shouldn't be hearing my voice right now. I should be dead.
Line 380 road at 885.
2452 line 66.
See, 4 years ago I went through the absolute worst experience of my life after my Cessna strayed into the wrong airspace. It was actually a beautiful day, perfect weather, hardly any wind, but I was new to flying and new to the Cessna, so I ended up going a bit too far south. And the way I figured, I was south of the Cayman Islands heading straight for Honduras. I thought I got myself back on track, but that's just when I lost control of the airplane completely. Everything went black. The controls, the radio, everything. I had just enough time to grab the emergency inflatable raft kit and make a jump for it.
1278.
At first I was in too much shock to inflate the raft. I was surrounded by only sea and sky. How would I float out of there, even on the raft? How could anyone even find me? But I pulled myself together and inflated what would be my home for the next 3 days. You know, it's strange the way time broke down out there. 3 days, 3 nights. You'd think it would feel like, what, a weekend? Some long vacation, but out there, every second stretched. Like it was pulling apart at the seams. No clocks. All you had was sunrises and sunsets. That's all you had to look forward to. And the water, that water was everywhere. It was an ocean of it. But I couldn't drink a drop of it. And I knew that, but after a while my body just, it screamed for it. How much longer before I drank that wrong water? Before I lost the fight? It was so easy to slip, just one little sip. That's what I kept telling myself, but that's how it starts. One drink and you're done. But the brain doesn't care. It whispered, told me it'd be okay, just a sip. Couldn't shut it down no matter how hard I tried. And nighttime? Believe it or not, that's when things got worse. You'd think the sun would be the enemy, and it was. But the night, that is when the fear came alive. The splashes that came too close, the shadows I thought I saw, the bump on the bottom of the raft from God knows what. I didn't want to know what was out there, but I could feel it watching me. It got in my head. See, the thing they don't tell you about dying out there is that it's slow. It's so slow that part of you wishes that it would just end right there in the middle of the night, so at least you'd be comfortable as you died. But somehow it didn't happen. I woke up in the darkness of that fourth morning, and there it was. Land. When I dove into that icy water, I was immediately energized and ready to get to land. I swam and swam toward that glorious rock and dirt and trees and grass. I didn't even think about how far it really was. But I could feel that bright orange raft behind me. I just couldn't bear to look back at it. I could only swim. Right, left, right, left. My arms and my feet just moved on their own. They took over for my brain at that point. There were a few times when I almost stopped swimming, but I knew that if I did, I would fall under that water and never come back up. Once my legs were on solid ground again, I dropped to my knees and I cheered louder than I ever had before. It was real. The sand was real. The rocks were real. I looked back at that speck of orange out on the horizon and I hoped I'd never see it again. I was thankful that it saved my life, sure, but I just wished it would go away and stop mocking me out there. I realized at that point that I still had a lot of work to do if I were to survive on this island. I noticed some seagulls flying overhead, so I followed them to their nests on a big rock and I grabbed some eggs. I continued to gather up all the resources I knew I'd need to get me started. I was no stranger to survival, and I'd played enough Minecraft to know what to do. Yeah, it was like a game to me still. After that, I set off to find some driftwood and some stone to make an axe so I could chop up larger wood for a shelter. I knew that shelter, fire, food, and water were now my main priorities. Once I got a good fire going, I cooked up those seagull eggs, and I actually went back and grabbed a seagull too. Those things are surprisingly tasty, especially when you haven't had any food for a few days. But I got careless with that fire, and I learned a valuable lesson. Fire is to be respected. It could just take everything away from me, just in a blink. A couple days later, I faced my hatred of water, and I jumped back in. I just had to find something, anything, to eat. The seagulls caught on to my plans to eat them, so they all flew to another part of the island. So all I had was seaweed, a few small fish here and there. It seemed to be enough for the time being, but I knew that I had to think more long term. I had bigger fish to fry, as they say. I did spend a lot of time that first week just resting, getting my strength back, and just thinking. I thought about boiling water and ways to cook seaweed to make it less gross. I thought about how to build a permanent shelter, not just a temporary little shelter, but something bigger where I could store food and build more tools. I realized one important thing through all that thinking. I wasn't going to sit around and wait for someone to rescue me. It was up to me to rescue myself. And I was ready to survive as long as it took. In fact, I was kind of excited about it.